And if I know only a little bit about, enough to be dangerous, the Colorado system, but it's a system that includes step and track as well as merit. And in your study of that, how would that system work in Maine, where all the systems I'm familiar with run primarily on step and track being years of service and degree. So how does merit fit into that?
I know that President Obama, for example, has been very upfront in promoting merit pay for teachers, in part. Now, in the Denver public school systems, up to 25% of teacher compensation can be based on merit. But when it comes to seniority and degrees that educators have in our state and compensation based on that, certainly that can be part of the program. But also, I think it's very important to try to evaluate the performance of good teachers. Which is really interesting, and again, I grew up with this topic in my background, and I ran the Board of Trustees at North Yarmouth Academy, so I'm very comfortable with this topic. And great teachers, Connie, inspire kids. And when kids are inspired, they perform well. Well, in other parts of our economy, on the private side, we have all kinds of ways to measure that performance. And I think teachers would be very accepting of some sort of way to measure their skills, which isn't always based on how long they've been teaching or the degrees that they have.
And would student achievement factor into that compensation package? In other words, a teacher would receive there would be some correlation between how a student performs and what compensation a teacher receives in your design of this system?
Well, everything is on the table. Absolutely everything has to be on the table because, remember, we have no more money. We have such a poor business climate in this state that we are not generating any new money. So we have to come up with new innovative ways. As a manager, everything has to be on the table, and we would want input from the teachers union and from administrators and from parents to make sure we get this right.
Now, to go back to a question I asked a few minutes ago, because believe it or not, we're going to run out of time. I asked for 2 goals or priorities for the Department of Health and Human Services, another large department who receives a considerable portion of the state budget. What would your goals for that agency be?
30% of our budget, Connie, is spent on social services. The biggest component thereof is health care. We have a very large and consuming healthcare, taxpayer-funded healthcare program called MaineCare. It's our Medicaid program. It was originally designed as a safety net for those that are elderly and disabled and poor. It has now grown into a program that now has 275,000 of our citizens enrolled in it, and we just can't afford it anymore. So one of the reasons for that is because the benefits that we provide in that program are way above the national averages. There is no residency requirement. People can arrive on Monday in the state of Maine, get their driver's license on Tuesday, and be in the MaineCare program and other programs on Wednesday. So we need to make sure we're not making it too easy for folks to come from other states to Maine to take advantage of taxpayers here in the state because we have no more money. So it would be very important to me on day one to make sure that these big parts of our budget is that in social services, as you were alluding to, that our benefit levels are no more generous than the national averages. We could save an enormous amount of money if we're able to do that. And if I may interject, Connie, thank you, is that I give the legislature and the governor lots of credit for the very painful cuts that they are going through right now. But the sad thing is that can be avoided. The way that can be avoided is to reduce the cost and the complexity of doing business in our state. If we're able to do that, then we'll be able, as a state, to compete again for businesses investing in our state and creating jobs. And that will generate more tax revenue, grow the economic pie, and we'll be able to provide these services to our people. I come from a big-hearted French-Canadian family, and we have to make sure we provide services for our people. But the only way that works is to generate a strong, healthy private sector economy, and that's what I've been doing my entire life.
Great. Well, believe it or not, we're going to run out of time, and I do want to ask for your position on taxes, and especially the referendum that will be coming forward later in the year regarding some rollbacks that were passed in the 122nd, I believe, legislature. So what's your opinion on that?
That is a classic example, Connie, of really not getting our fiscal house in order. We have a real problem in the state of Maine about being so expensive. And LD 1495 that you're referring to, the new tax bill, excuse me, is one where it is just a shift. We are collecting the same amount of money, we're just collecting less from personal income and more from sales tax or consumption. It is the worst possible message we can send to the business community who's considering investing in our state and creating jobs. We need to get our fiscal house in order, get spending under control, making sure we maintain a safety net for those that really need the services. Then we'll be able to lower the cost of doing business here by cutting taxes in a meaningful way across the board. That'll put more money in the hands of our families. It'll also give businesses an incentive to invest in this state. So that's part of it. But we have to be dead serious about addressing these very difficult problems. We can't just say Maine is open for business. We've tried that for years. It doesn't work. There's no silver bullet that's going to save us. There's no ribbon-cutting ceremony. We need a manager who understands how an economy works, understands how to run a business and create jobs, understands fiscal issues to address why we can't compete with other states.
And where does tourism figure into that? Does it figure prominently, or is it an afterthought?
Not at all. Tourism is a $10 billion industry in our state. It is the biggest industry that employs 175,000 of our citizens directly. That's why this last tax bill, I think, is very punitive to the tourist industry, because what it does is it sends a message to those that are thinking about vacationing here: come to Maine, we want you to be here, and oh, by the way, we're going to tax you more. That is absolutely the wrong way to go. So tourism is a very big part of our state, always will be, always has been.
Great. We're just about out of time. So as I have with my previous guests, I want to make sure that you can tell the audience why they should vote for you. Why are you the best person, and what makes you stand out as opposed to the other, what are we up to, 20 candidates now in the race?
I'm a native Mainer. I understand this state. I have a passion for this state. I'm a manager, a skilled manager, and someone with extensive experience in finance, and I am not looking at the next election. I am not a career politician. I have the courage to address our problems head on.
That's great. And you have a website. I know that the audience would be very interested in getting in touch with you and hearing some more about your position and donations. I would assume you're accepting donations. Everyone prior to you has been.
Well, there are some people that are taking taxpayer funds to campaign or to fund their campaign. I think that's horrible, especially in a recession. I would never do that when we can't pay our roads or buy school books for our kids. So we are privately funded. And my website is www.bruceforme.com. That's Bruce, F-O-R-M-E.com.
That's great. I want to thank you for being
Connie,
on
very
this
much.
show. You've been very interesting to listen to. And as the campaign and the primaries come up, we will probably ask you back again. And we want to wish you well. And again, thank you for taking time to be here during what I know is a very hectic day today and a very ambitious campaign. So we wish you well. I'd like to thank our audience for joining us for In and Around Augusta. My guest today is gubernatorial candidate Mr. Bruce Poliquin, a native Central Mainer, and now living in Georgetown. And we wish him well. And we hope that you'll join us for other candidates who have come through. Mr. LePage is coming through next week, and Mr. Otten, and a fine group of individuals, all who seek the Blaine House. So we hope you'll turn in and watch and learn about which candidate you'd like to vote for in November 2010. So thank you again, and have a great day. Thanks.